Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to be talking to the Hampton Economic Development Authority and the Chairman, Jay Joseph. Welcome, Jay.
Glad to be here.
Now, I'm going to say, I forget we have an Economic Development Authority, and it came to my attention because actually you guys just changed your name. You were the Industrial Development Authority, and now you're the Economic Development Authority. So tell me what the heck you do.
Oh, that's a big question. Well, we don't just do industrial, obviously. We do everything related to economic development. And we do everything from buy and sell real estate, lease real estate, borrow money, lend money, make grants.
Okay, so really that's quite a bit. And a lot of what you do, you're a public body.
Correct.
And you guys are not elected, though. You're appointed by City Council? Is that, I'm guessing here?
No need to guess. We've got seven members. We're appointed for 4-year terms. We can serve 2 4-year terms or a maximum of 8 years. So all City Council appointees. And
you do have public meetings, and they're open to the public, but because so much of what you do involves buying and selling real estate, portions are not made public until after the fact.
That's correct. Our meetings generally run an hour and a half to 2 hours. We meet once a month, almost every month of the year. We may take Christmas off. And we frequently will go into closed session, a short closed session, to discuss pending transactions. And that might be anything from a new employer who's coming to town who's sensitive about their name getting out there.
I also noticed of all of the meetings that I attend in the city of Hampton, and over the last year I found out there's a lot, yours are brief. I mean, you are, maybe it's because you're all business people and taking time out of your days, but it's like they run those meetings.
Well, I pride myself on running a prompt meeting. People are busy. We have members who have jobs and need to get to those jobs. And so most people, if I don't end the meeting by roughly 10:30, I start losing people. So
they'll walk out on you. So
yes.
That's good.
So we need to,
it's good to have a deadline.
We have an agenda. Hopefully people have shown up, they've done their homework, and we're ready to make decisions.
So the board has certain authorities. You're a separate, what is it, political subdivision?
We're actually an entity created by state law. It's called a political subdivision of the Commonwealth. And every municipality in the state can have one.
And many of them do.
And many of them do. All of our neighboring cities have industrial or economic development authorities. And I brought the code with me because it is a fairly broad chapter in the code that allows us to promote industry and develop trade. We can induce manufacturing, industrial, government, nonprofit, and commercial enterprises, medical facilities and facilities for the residents of care of the aged, and institutions of higher education. And we're supposed to cause those group of activities to locate in or remain in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So it's a very, very broad chapter of the state code.
So what tools do you have to induce or encourage people to locate their businesses here?
Most of our tools are given to us by the City Council. Any monies we have been appropriated by City Council, and most of the programs we have been created by City Council. So I should be clear that we're not a policy-making board, we're only an implementing board.
And that ties to it too. So City Council sort of sets the broad direction,
right.
And then you guys as a board refine that direction, and then the actual arm that does a lot of the work is the staff of
Correct.
the Economic Development Department.
That's correct. And we're staffed by city employees who have broader jobs than just staffing the EDA.
Right.
But we have great staff in Mike Yaskowski's department over at Economic Development. You asked about the tools. We have multiple programs. For instance, we have a City Council wanted to encourage electronic commerce in the city, and so we have an e-commerce grant program to assist companies that are located in Hampton to set up websites to engage in financial transactions on the web.
That's such a hurdle for small business, I think, to figure out how they can do that.
It can be, and these are small grants. I mean, they average, I think, $2,000 or $2,500, but we've made I think 30 or 40 of them in the last 2 years, and we have a list of approved providers. So when someone comes and gets a grant, they not only get the money, but they get some technical assistance as to who's a good provider and how to go about doing it.
That's a good thing, because a lot of times those small businesses exist because they're good at what they do, but they don't necessarily have the technical knowledge to market themselves or know how to make that leap to the web.
That's true, and it's important that I don't remember the exact statistic, but most people know that the majority of our new jobs come from existing businesses. So it's not just about attracting new companies to
That's
Hampton.
what gets the headlines, though.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody comes and they're going to promise 100 or more jobs, it gets a big, big headline. But those small businesses who continue to stay and grow add up.
That's true. That's true. And the other resource that we have, which is major, is we are one of the larger landowners of vacant land in the city of Hampton.
Gosh, there isn't much vacant
There's
land in
very
the city
little
of Hampton
left.
that is not wetlands, that is
That's true.
developable. And you guys hold the title to most of it.
We hold title to approximately 350 developable acres. Most of it's on the Magruder Boulevard corridor, either in Hampton Roads Center, South Central or North Campus, or Langley Research and Development Park. And there are wetlands out there, but we have they've all been delineated and protected. And we have developable land that should keep the city in the business of bringing new companies and new buildings for the next several generations, quite honestly.
And you guys also developed the parts of those business parks that exist now,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So who, and I don't mean specific company names, but who is a good fit for Hampton? Who should come locate or expand onto that land you guys have available, we as a city have available?
The current most popular theory of economic development is that companies prefer to cluster with other similar type companies. That's why you end up with a Silicon Valley in California, is because these companies have synergies. They feed off each other's success. And so we have certain clusters in Hampton Roads and in the city of Hampton that we think we can build on, one of which, of course, is aerospace. We have several small companies that are innovating in everything from materials to unmanned vehicles.
And that's sort of a spin-off of NASA Langley,
Can be a
of course.
spin-off of NASA Langley, of course. We also have a fairly active modeling and simulation cluster in Hampton Roads that we're trying to build on in Hampton.
I think that's pretty exciting.
It is.
And, you know, that got a little bit stalled with some of the federal cuts in the area, but it's clearly going to be a growth area for the future if Hampton and Hampton Roads can retain a foothold there.
That's true. That's true. And I don't want to mislead you. We do not do just, I'd love to focus on just high-tech, high-paying jobs, but we also get involved in bringing other more basic industries to town. We've been involved in bringing several call centers to Hampton, and they provide flexible employment hours and entry-level jobs for our younger folks and for instance, spouses of military who are new to the area. So whole broad range of industries and jobs for folks in Hampton.
So how do you go about that? What are your goals for the future, or what? And clearly, you've been in a little bit of a holding pattern lately. Not that you haven't been trying, but there hasn't been a lot of business growth and new development announced in the past 5 years or so.
That's true. The recession brought most commercial development activity to a halt everywhere. We did have one very exciting project open last year, which was the laboratory building for the National Institute of Aerospace. And of course, that was funded through some higher education funds that were funneled through Virginia Tech. And the EDA's role in that case was to lobby for those funds through the General Assembly, and then to donate the land, roughly 5-acre site that the lab building was built on. And if you haven't seen that building, it's amazing. It's doing primary research.
That's they're so quiet, and also people like me don't understand what it is they're doing in terms of aerospace research. So I think that I would like to learn more about that and tell more people about that, because it's going on out there all by itself in that little community, and the rest of us don't always know.
And we didn't sit still for 5 years. During this recession, the city, and this is not the EDA's role, but the city continued to pursue infrastructure projects that position us for growth. The most exciting one is probably the extension of Commander Shepard Boulevard.
Boy, that is exciting out there, because that's going to open up that north part of the park and make it easier for people to get to and from, and easier to build out there.
Correct, and it's a follow-on to Hampton Roads Center Parkway. If you remember how successful that was in opening up a major east-west connector for the Lower Peninsula, this will just be a few miles further north, and it'll be a connector really from NASA Langley and Langley Air Force Base to that whole Cannon Jeff Lab section of Newport News.
And there is a logical connection there.
Absolutely.
Hiring the same types of people, sharing information, research, things like that.
Absolutely.
So Jay, your background is actually in commercial real estate.
Yes.
And you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart to help your native city?
We do get paid. I think it's $50 a meeting. So.
Oh, okay. Big bucks.
I think
for a commercial realtor.
I just got my W-2 for last year from the city of Hampton. I think I got paid $660. So it's not. I don't know why they pay us because I would certainly do it as a volunteer job.
Which it pretty much is anyway.
Yes.
Right.
It is community service, and you do it because you want your city to prosper and grow and be a good place for people to live and work.
That's impressive. So what makes Hampton such a good place to live and work? What would you, if you were personally out pitching a business, which I know isn't necessarily what you do, what would you tell them about why they should expand and stay in Hampton or come to Hampton?
Well, first of all, real estate's about location. We have a great central location within Hampton Roads, convenient to both the Norfolk and Newport News airports. We have tremendous geography. I mean, I think Hampton personally is defined by the water. Our relationship to both Hampton Roads, Hampton River, and the Chesapeake Bay, and people who enjoy being outdoors and being on the water. It's a wonderful place to live. We also have some tremendous federal facilities in terms of our new national park at Fort Monroe, NASA Langley, and Langley Air Force Base, and so. We certainly attract anybody interested in doing business with the government or with our defense industry. And I guess finally, although it needs investment, we have very good infrastructure, whether it's broadband services through some of the major telecom companies, highways, and actually a very good city government who provides permitting and other services to new companies who want to locate here.
Great. So it's a good place to live, but also a good place to do business.
Correct.
Because of and you can't get a business to locate somewhere if it isn't a good place to live, if it doesn't have some amenities and a decent quality of life. I think those tie in.
I agree. And in my experience, people care about, the CEO wants to live someplace where he's going to have a good lifestyle, but he also needs people he can hire. And the thing I didn't mention is the workforce. We have a well-trained, highly educated workforce. I haven't looked recently at the numbers, but I think our wages are about average for the nation. But we also have a lot of military retirees, people who are still very young and looking for second careers, and spouses in military who are all very reliable and excellent potential employees.
Well, and a lot of people tend to stay here after their military
Correct.
career, and as the military draws down a little bit after these wars, there's going to be people who are looking for jobs and who have an amazing amount of skills. So hopefully that workforce pool will just continue to grow.
I hope so too.
All right, so Jay, look out 5 years,
right.
and make a prediction for me about what Hampton looks like or what goals we've accomplished in terms of attracting business.
Well, let me back up a second. One of our real focus for the last few years has been revamping and energizing our incubators. We have 2 incubators, one run by Hampton University, which is located in Phoebus and is focused on small businesses, and we have one in the new NIA lab building, which is focused on high technology industries.
Now you might need to tell people what an incubator is.
Very good. It's in our case, there are virtual incubators, but in our case, it's a real space. It's a place, office space in our case, that has all sorts of business support services from a staff that can either connect you to marketing, financial planning, and other business services that help you launch and grow your business. And so it's a way literally to incubate new businesses. And if I were looking forward 5 years, what I would hope to see is that those incubators will have spun off several fast-growing, high-tech or innovative service companies that are doing something within those clusters I mentioned, whether it was aerospace or materials development or modeling and simulation, so that we have homegrown, fast-growing, neat companies that are doing things that attract attention from around the world, and bring more companies who want to cluster and locate near those dynamic new companies.
That does sound exciting, and I certainly hear from people whose vision now is, if they have that idea or if they have some skills, is to go out on their own. That so many people don't want to work for somebody their whole career. They want to be in charge of that, and they're our entrepreneurial class, and good luck to them. I'm not that brave.
You want a paycheck, do you? Okay.
Yeah, I think that comes in handy.
It does.
Maybe I just don't have a sellable skill. That might be the other problem.
Or you need that killer idea.
Yeah.
Right.
And the means to develop it.
Absolutely.
And if someone has that, you guys have a place where they can learn and grow before they launch fully on their
Yes.
own, which is very helpful.
Yes.
Jay, is there anything else I've forgotten to ask you about?
No, I mean, we have, I've been in the IDA about 5 years. The IDA's been active in doing projects for 30 years. And there's a whole history that we could spend a whole show talking about. And I would want.
And back when you were the Industrial Authority, it was Copeland Industrial Park, and
yes.
Probably much more in the manufacturing sector than where we are now as a city.
And absolutely,
and a country.
And there's also been a role for the IDA in terms of a facilitator for other transactions. It's a little known fact that we own the land underneath the Boo Williams Sports Complex, and we own the land under the power plant, and we were the facilitator of those transactions and those new developments. So there's lots of other roles we play in terms of, because we have certain powers under the state code that I mentioned that allow us to
that the city council maybe doesn't have.
Right, it allows us to engage in these real estate transactions.
And that's where these other arms come in. The Redevelopment and Housing Authority now is picking up more of the housing type developments, which you guys may or may not have done in the past. I know our Economic Development Department did. And that frees you guys then to focus on job creation and business focus.
And I guess the last thing is we had a retreat recently, and and the city manager, Mary Bunting, encouraged us to actually become more sort of visionary and more and looking more about the future, the kind of questions you're asking, quite honestly. And one of the things we're trying to focus on in the next 12 months is how are we marketing the city? What are our materials? What are we saying? The very questions you asked, what do we have to sell and how are we presenting ourselves? And so we're doing a complete review of those, that sales pitch, if you will, to make sure we're putting our best foot forward. That's
important because people don't give you very much of a second look. You have that much time to get someone's attention and to explain why we're the best city, because everybody's clamoring. Gosh, if there's somebody out there looking to place down a business with 100 jobs, they're getting calls from, half of the country every day.
That's true.
So how do you break through that, and how do you make Hampton really stand out for the right business? It may not be the place to locate a car manufacturer or something like that, but what works here and who should come here, and how do we reach out and grab those people?
Exactly. That's what we're working on.
Well, it's exciting to hear what you're doing, because I think really, if I'm a little bit piped in and I didn't very much know, the folks out there probably really don't know. And until those big announcements come out, you guys are under the radar. So.
Well, we hope to have more announcements in the future as the economy improves and as businesses start to make new commitments. We hope to have more good news for the city of Hampton.
Good. I hope so too. Thanks for stopping by today, Jay.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching this episode of Round Robin. I think you hope you heard a little bit more about what the city and the Economic Development Authority is doing to bring new jobs to our area. Thank you.